Why don't you just speak the Queen's English?
Kneecap the film is opening in New Zealand cinemas today, and Kneecap the band will tour New Zealand in March. Here are the three members of Kneecap, notorious for rapping in their native Irish language, direct from Northern Ireland, to tell us how they went from rappers to actors, starring in a film about themselves.
Discrimination.
Censorship. Don't make me come down there.
I'm a hit, double OD, low life.
Before we get into that, a few words about the New Zealand Indigenous language.
Like I discovered the Beatles. If the Beatles were
Yeah, I don't know a hell of a lot about the Maori language. I know it's quite strong,
right,
over there in New Zealand. Obviously, New Zealand is very far away from everywhere. From Australia, they were far enough away from the Brits, I think.
Well, it was when I moved here 30 years ago. It was very British here. It felt that.
Yeah.
And the Maori language was not spoken at all, was looked down upon, but it's changed very much in the last 10 to 15 years. So
yeah, I heard it's quite strong there right here in New Zealand. Yeah.
And all the place names have changed, and there's signs with two languages, which is
nice. That's great. I think it's such. I think it adds so much substance and adds so much layers to an area when you can have the both place names. Yep. And it gives more history and makes it more interesting.
Yep.
For tourism and everything. So it's a win-win situation.
I agree.
We don't have that yet where we're from in the north of Ireland.
Right.
Well, the signs aren't bilingual. Only some of the street signs you have to sign a petition. But if you're going on on the motorway, everything's in English.
Yeah. So
do they have the same problem in New Zealand where like the names of the places were just anglicized and don't mean anything?
Right. Yes.
They make sense in Maori, obviously.
Yeah. All right. So I want to talk about this film that you guys all appear in, and the first obvious question. I mean, since you weren't professional actors or actors of any kind, and I've seen the film, you definitely pulled it off. So what was the process to get you to that point? When did you guys decide? Well, yeah, we can do this.
I mean, I think maybe it was about 2 weeks into filming that we thought we could do it. So obviously we did acting classes for like 6 months, once a week. I mean, it wasn't anything too intense. Right. It was once a week, and the hardest part was just trying to turn up on time, usually quite late. But we just did it. We did lots of exercises to get us comfortable, like just together on the screen and doing like improv and stuff. And we'd have to like do one of the exercises was to like stare into each other's eyes for like 5 minutes, which actually sounds a lot easier said than done, to stare into someone's eyes for 5 minutes.
Well, with DJ over there, that's all you can do. Was he wearing a mask?
That's a good one.
No, we begged him to put the mask back on, but he wouldn't.
Just for kids.
We had a great acting coach called Kieran Lagan as well, which was very helpful. And also we had Rich Pappy, the director, who went to every class with us. So we had we had a lot of direction, and we were well used to acting in front of each other by the time the first day of shoot came.
Yep. Now, speaking of Rich, I mean, he directed a couple of music videos, but that's about it as well. So how did you guys convince everybody that this could actually happen between you and Rich?
I think Rich Pappy, it's persistence.
Yeah.
Definitely won a few people over. I feel like on paper, it's probably a movie that shouldn't really work. I don't know, maybe it doesn't seem like something that people would jump at funding.
Right.
But he was very good. He was very good at talking his way into things, and that's how he talked his way into us. He was persistent for months to get us in touch with him, and I'm glad we did. It was a risk well worth taking.
Yeah.
He's very persuasive. His wife will tell you that.
I'm sure she will.
Right. I think a great thing with Rich and like the acting classes, like he wasn't trying to create these like overly polished actors. He was just trying to get us to like hone in on the things that we already do with the band, and trying to kind of transfer that skill over to the screen. So we weren't there all the we weren't like necessarily learning like drama theory all the time every week. We were mostly like playing games and improv and getting just trying to the skills that we have on stage performing in the band and trying to use them and bring it onto the screen. I think Rich got that job done.
Right. And since the film is about you guys, did you have any kind of control over the script? Did they run it past you and go, "Is this cool? Should we put this in, take this out?"
Well, I wrote the whole script. Yeah, no, for sure, because obviously, kind of like Trainspotting, which is a big influence. We wanted to keep it colloquial, like the terminology, the slang. So there were some words here and there that like maybe we wouldn't have said, or sentences or deliveries. So we definitely had an influence there because it was very important that the movie was authentic to Belfast, and we didn't from day one, as Rich said as well. We didn't care if the movie didn't make it out of Belfast. It didn't go anywhere else, as long as it was authentic to Belfast and the people of Belfast. I think that was our main objective, and the fact that we have it in America and New Zealand and all these places just has blown us away.
Right.
Yeah, and we were coming to the table with all these stories. The stories in the film are our stories and our friends' stories as well.
Gotcha. And DJ, I mean, you're a school teacher who's suddenly making beats and being part of this hip hop scene that really didn't exist. That's quite a jump. How did that happen in your own head? What did you go through?
It was more of a push than a jump.
Okay.
In the end, but yeah, I was working in the school and teaching Irish, and the students started coming to the shows, you know, and then while we were doing the band, and then it became untenable to keep doing both things, so I had to go to the music because I didn't want to get up on a Monday morning anymore.
Right. So can you give me an idea what the Belfast music scene is like now? Has it changed because of you?
It used to be heavily punk influenced. Like it would have been a lot of punk music back in the time of the Troubles. I suppose that's probably bred from the sort of aggression and the tension of the time, maybe.
Right.
So I feel like you feel a lot of that sort of influence in our music. You know, like a lot of the scenes, like a lot of the songs in the film, like Guilty Conscience, for example, has that real punk element, that sort of aggressive feel. Now there's a lot of like new bands. There's like Enola Gay and stuff coming from Belfast that are very like sort of punky. But yeah, it's a scene that's very like still growing. The biggest music scene in Belfast has always been traditional Irish music,
right?
Like the traditional with like, you know, the fiddle, the flute, and that and concertina and all this kind of stuff. Like you go to any city centre bar, especially during the weekend, and you'll find mostly young people actually sitting in the corner playing traditional music. So that's the main scene in Belfast.
I think in general in Ireland though there is like a lot more willingness for people to include the language, the Irish language into the music. In Ireland in general, we're seeing a lot more people not just like doing a song fully in Irish, but like, you know, code mixing and mixing Irish and English together. You're seeing that a lot more now in Ireland,
right?
Which is quite a cool thing that's happening.
Yeah, because that helps people, give them a way in when they can.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun, and it gives people the confidence that like you don't have to be fully fluent to enjoy the language.
Yeah,
and like you can take part in the language. You can use some words. You can say slang, goodbye, or whatever. And I think that just reaffirms like the Irish identity. It gives people that the self-esteem they need to learn the language. So we always welcome any form of Irish used or spoken.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching some of your videos and whatever. I don't speak anything close to the Irish language, but I got an idea what was going on, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's the general consensus for a Kneecap gig as well. Most people don't have a clue what we're saying, but I think they get the vibe.
Yeah. Very cool. And are you starting to get any radio airplay now? Is that happening? Because I know
we don't have many songs. We don't have many songs that are fit for radio, really. But we've definitely seen. Yeah, we never got radio play at all, basically, until the new album. So there's a few ones, like the track we did with Green from the Fontaines, Better Way to Live, like that got a bit of radio play. But we're starting to see a bit more of it now.
Yeah, I've literally just heard us on the radio about 10 minutes ago. We're on Radio 1 for Powerful.
Right.
It's on rotation and BBC Radio 1. at the minute. So yeah, we're getting a lot more play now.
That's very good. So what is it like when you're talking to people overseas about that? I mean, do you feel like that you're representing something that you've taken on a responsibility now, which is very kind of not where you guys were coming from when you started out? Is there a certain heaviness that's come over being what you are and representing?
I don't think there's a heaviness. There's actually there's some sort of lightness to what we do, because like we have been all around the world now with the movie and the music, and we're getting opportunities to meet people from other cultures, indigenous languages, people from Aboriginal Australia. And there's a sense of solidarity now that people of like oppressed nations or people who speak minority languages. So the fact that we get to meet these people and learn from them, and they learn from us, so we can swap and give advice, it actually kind of makes it a lot easier, and it makes us feel that we're a part of something a lot bigger. Because I think maybe people are looking more intrinsically now, or looking introspectively in terms of their own culture, their own language. So the fact that we got to meet people from the like Native Americans in America, and like they told us how much the movie resonated with them and inspired them to learn their language. So it's a great thing for us, the fact that we can, I think the more people around the world who understand the importance of maintaining and reviving language, the better. Because once, I say, at the end of the movie, it says every 40 days an indigenous language dies.
Yeah.
And it'll be a very sad and boring place if we're left with like 7 languages. You know what I mean? It'll just be like a wee computer. It'll be like Sims, like a wee computer game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is a bit of likeness associated with the Irish language now here, whereas it was always seen as a political tool for one side of the community.
Right.
In like generations gone by, it's now being used by both sides of the community, and it's not a battering ram or a political thing anymore. It's just a language, which it always has been and always will be.
Yeah. Once you move from it being a political, almost a weapon or a statement, to the everyday thing, that's a big change.
Yeah, it's a good way for people to express their own self-identity, and Irish is so beautiful, and it's got the connection to the land, and it tells you who you are, where you've come from, and all that shit.
All that, yes. So how did you first hear hip hop music? What was your first?
It has to be Eminem. It has to be sneaking off and listening to Eminem.
There you go.
I was fucking 12. Obviously, everybody was doing that at that age.
I was getting drilled with NWA and stuff like years ago. But like I used to drive. Well, I never drove. I was a child, but to Donegal with my uncle, and he was a big hip hop fan. So we used to listen to lots of like Immortal Technique and NWA and stuff, mixed with Irish folk music in between it, which was a strange mix. But maybe those are the two main influences in our music.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a part of what Kneecap represents. So, like for a long time, the Irish language has been like quite not like sanitized in a certain way. It's been very clean and traditional, and there hasn't really been music in Irish that has maybe delved into youth culture or drugs or partying and all these things that you would find commonly in the English language. So the fact that Kneecap, for example, like in the secondary school in Belfast, they're not allowed to play Kneecap in the school, not allowed to listen to it. And I think that's a very important aspect of young people, engaging young people with the language. Same as me when I was a kid listening to Eminem. We weren't allowed to listen to Eminem, but we did.
Right.
So it makes you have to have that there thing. It has to be something that if your parents tell you not to do something, then you end up doing it. So it makes it kind of cool.
Because I've seen you being referred to as Belfast Beastie Boys. Is that a compliment or an insult, or somewhere in the middle?
It's probably a compliment to us and an insult to the Beastie Boys, to be honest. No, I think it's something we've got loads. I don't know an awful lot about the Beastie Boys, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
No, but I fucking love. I'm mad about Rick Rubin, and Rick Rubin obviously produced a lot of their records.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if somebody compares us to the Beastie Boys, that will one day bring us towards Rick Rubin, and he can make an album for us. So hopefully that happens.
That you never know. I mean, these things have happened. I know a Kiwi from Samoa here who was working with Rick Rubin a few years ago.
There you go.
She just
Put a word in for us.
Put a word for us. I mean,
we were just chatting to Rick Rubin.
We were just chatting to Elton John last week. So
as you do.
You never know. We could be chatting to Rick Rubin the week after.
Right. What did Elton have to say?
Yeah, he's very complimentary. We only got a short chat. It was like on his podcast, but yeah, he's very complimentary of what we do, and like kind of referenced Eminem and stuff, and that energy and the humor mixed in and the fun. And he said he's going to give us a hug next time he sees us.
There you go.
Which is quite nice.
That is all right. Because
that's a privilege. A privilege not many people are afforded. I imagine a hug from Elton John.
I was hoping for a kiss, but
you never know. I mean, he probably gets around. All right. Well, I think our time is up, but I really appreciate. You should come down here sometime and do a few shows. Australia is next door.
We're coming in March.
That's right. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Very cool.
We'll see
you then.
Bring
Rick Rubin.
Kom maar, let's go. Maar ik ga heel zeer. Dan krijg je de Dr. Drainer again.